Hello everybody. In this session, SMART presents presentation skills. Presentation skills. It is a method to deliver your message to a group of audience and you can expect results. That is presentation skills. But what is successful presentation skills? When you deliver a message and you not only see results but immediately see your audience move to action. This can be achieved only through technique or through skill. Through this session, we would understand or capture the superior essence of great presentation skills. Let's see how we can do that. For example, have you ever attended a presentation that was really great? Did you ask yourself what was so great about that presentation? Was it the way the person delivered the information? Was it the content of the presentation? Was it the technique used or the technology used? Whatever it was, why was it that the delivery was so successful? You need to ask yourself all these questions because only when you get answers to these questions, you would be able to use those answers to enhance your presentation skills. To deliver a successful presentation, we need to do a lot of homework and background work. For that, we need to know what would be the speaker's impact on the audience. To understand that, Dr. Mehrabian from UCLA has given us a theory, the speaker's impact theory. What is the speaker's impact during a presentation? 55% of the impact lies on how you look. That is why everybody is always concerned how they dress or the way they present themselves or the non-verbal communication that they would indulge in during a presentation. Because 55% of the presentation and the speaker's impact depends on how the person looks or how would they present themselves during a presentation. The next 38% depends on how you sound. That is why a lot of practice goes into a successful presentation. When you practice a lot, you're confident with the content. That's when you'd be able to deliver better. And that's how your presentation becomes a success. Finally, 7% depends on what you deliver, which means that how you look, how you sound, and what you deliver. All three are important aspects as far as a speaker's impact is concerned, but it's divided in this very unruly manner. Does that mean that I can dress well and talk nonsense? Or does that mean that I can talk very good English in an awesome accent and my presentation would be a success? Not at all. It's a combination of everything. While doing a background work or a homework, you need to work maximum on this section, which is actually having the least impact. 7% on content, but maximum background work goes on content preparation. Then again, the next percentage goes to the speaker's impact on how you sound. Obviously, you need to be thorough with your content and only then you can speak well. You can work on your enunciation, stress and strain, and the way you throw your voice. And finally, just the day before your presentation, you might decide what to wear. But that doesn't mean you would be shabbily dressed. This is how a speaker's impact is on the audience when a presentation takes place. Now let's see how we can prepare better for a very good presentation. Preparation is a very important part when you're getting ready to give a good presentation. Let's divide our presentation into 3 sections so that it is in structure and we're able to deliver as much as possible in the given time. So let's divide it and see a structure as one being introduction, 2 content, and 3 conclusion. So, to start off explaining each and every section now. Introduction. In an introduction, don't forget to greet your audience. Courtesy always goes a long way. Once you have greeted your audience, you can go ahead and let them know what is the objective of your presentation. By the end of the presentation, what should they expect from you? Also, you can try to set expectations by asking them what are they looking to receive by the end of this presentation. Apart from that, when you start your presentation, you can either have an icebreaker in a form of a humor, if you're good at that, that is. Else, you can start off with giving some surprising or astonishing points as facts and figures or ratios that are available in the market. Which means that you've either surprised the audience, taken them aback, and waited so that they wait to see what you're going to say next, or you start off on a note of humor where they start enjoying what you're going to talk further. Which means your introduction is complete now. We can move on to the next section, which would be the content. Content is the most important part in a presentation. Now, let's see what all can be put in the content. 5 minutes in your presentation, which means the first 5 minutes, all you can do is convey maximum 2 or 3 points, which means you can introduce only these 2 or 3 points. In this section, what you can do is, once you have introduced these 2 and 3 points, the rest of the session should continue only by building on these points. In this way, you're not overloading the audience and you let them think of what you have said. Once the audience gets overloaded with too much of information, if you try to pack in too much within the stipulated time of your presentation, then they will lose interest in what you're trying to say. Moving on to the third and final section of a presentation preparation would be conclusion. Conclusion plays a very important part in this session as well. Reason being, you need to summarize whatever you've spoken for in the introduction and in the content. Once you summarize, you can ask the audience to throw the questions to you. You can answer the questions, you can interact with the audience, and finally, always end your presentation on a positive and very happy note. Let me give you some basic tips so that you can make your presentation the best. Now, what are a few things that actually you have to keep in mind before you start preparing for a presentation? As we already discussed, the speaker's impact, of course, and of course, the structure of how you prepare for the presentation. But let's move on to certain sections which go unnoticed otherwise. Number 1 would be eye contact. An eye contact, or rather a good eye contact with entire audience, will help you connect to the audience. Number 2, it's always best to smile. But again, I would like to emphasize that smile has to be in the perfect places where necessary. Number 3, always be sure about the equipment you use. For example, if you're doing a PPT, be sure about the slides you use or how the technology works for you to show the equipment. So, technology. Number 4, as we said, practice makes man perfect. So practice is the only way to make your presentation a perfect one. After you do all this and keeping in mind that your content is the best at its nature, always remember, audience is the king. They have to decide whether they vote in favor or against your presentation. So always keep in mind what kind of audience you're catering to. And also, be sure you keep intact to time. Always wear a wristwatch while doing a presentation. It's easier for you to keep a track on time so that you don't miss out or don't extend too much. Presentation has to be short and crisp. As we said, don't overload the audience. Now, when you've done all this, what is one major thing that we need to do just before we start our presentation? What I would say is, take a deep breath and relax. We get a chance to do a presentation only when we are in college or at the levels when we are working, which means it's something that is expected out of someone who is mature enough. This in turn has to show the kind of person that we are. So let's keep in mind that We are going to present ourselves in front of the number of people who are expecting to see someone who is mature and very clear in his thought process, in turn, which will show that you're clear in your speech, in what you deliver, and finally, the entire presentation would be a success. It's all right to be nervous. We all be nervous. And at the same time, we are nervous in ways where it could create a lot of tension. Let's try to control this nervousness in us. When we control this nervousness, we can be calm, composed, relaxed, and give out what we believe we can deliver. Once we are clear of nervousness, let's think about how we are going to interact with the audience. Involve them in your presentation so that the presentation becomes more interactive. And finally, just keep in mind that preparation is the best skill for you to have a great presentation. Hence, let's practice, practice, and just keep practicing. Because unless you practice, you're not going to deliver what you are expected to. In an office or in an organization, when you go in for a presentation, it's always that either your higher officials or someone above you is going to sit there and look at what you're going to present. I'm sure they're not going to immediately move on to the judgmental mode, but yes, it would be a judgment when they decide whether you can handle something or whether you can't. So it's up to us how we are going to do, what we are going to do, and how we are going to present ourselves. Be careful in what you say and how you say it, because what you show is what you sell. Have a great learning.